Hampshire. Here's Nick Anastas and Rich Flara.
It's time for you to give the best you got.
Well, hello and welcome to a Hump Day edition of the High School Insiders. We are presented by the Monahan Companies. We are live each and every night, 6 o'clock, right here on ESPN New Hampshire and ESPNNewHampshire.com. Nick Anastas with you, rolling solo tonight. Rich Flara will be back tomorrow as we continue to unroll one after the other, our football previews, taking a trip around the state nightly here on the High School Insiders, providing you the best high school football coverage of anywhere. Joining us today is Nashua North head coach Jason Roby, and we'll talk to him in just a few minutes here as I'm looking forward to it. First time I've spoken to him here on the program. But North, of course, involved, just like everyone else, in the realignment. Realignment. That's the big story. Everyone was looking forward to it last year. Well, now it's about a month or so away in 2013, and we find ourselves with a new landscape. Not a whole lot of differences, though, for Nashua North. They stay in Division I. They will face crosstown rival Nashua South, along with Nashua High School Bishop Girton, Alvern, located just outside the city of Nashua, and Keene. Those five teams make up the West Conference. That's right, 4 conferences making up Division I as they realign things for 2013. So Nashua North, a team that was young last year, I believe they had 7 sophomores that started, took their lumps, played physical, and maybe was playing their best football at the end of the year, as highlighted by a late November Thanksgiving morning Turkey Bowl win over Nashua South. So they have some things to build on. They have some players to build around. And joining us now via the telephone is Jason Roby, second-year head coach with Nashua North. Coach, thanks a lot for joining us. We talked earlier off the air. You were excited. You said that perhaps you had as good a group of playmakers at the skill positions as you've had in quite some time. Tell me a little bit more about some of these young guys on the outside that has gotten you so excited.
Sure, Nick. Well, first, thanks for having me on the program. Really appreciate it. I love what you guys do. And, yeah, we're pretty excited at North. We have a lot of kids that can make things happen, so to speak, on the outside and on the inside. Both offensively and defensively. I would venture to say we could be as explosive a team from our skill position set as we were back in those title team runs in 2009 and 2010. Love the kids we have. A lot of juniors who started last year as sophomores. We have a young man named Dimitri Jackson who rushed for over 800 yards last year, caught the ball really well out of the backfield, played corner for us. Very explosive young man at 6'1", about 180 pounds. We have another young man, Miles Casson-Reed, who's just a playmaker all over the field. Those two guys are very, very similar to what Jamar Gaffright and Andre Williams did for us back in 2009, 2010. So it kind of starts with those guys. We have some up-and-coming young guys that are pretty good athletes on the perimeter. You look at a kid like Ezra Mwanko, who is a 6'2" wide receiver for us, has big hands, runs really well, does a lot of things really well. So we have some explosive kids who have some experience. I think the big question for us is going to be how well we perform up front on the offensive and defensive lines.
Tell me a little bit more about the beef. Now, for those that don't know, you lost a key component up front, Christian Fillion, to a broken leg, kind of a freak accident on a slip and slide. Do you have enough depth to kind of fill that void? It's a big hole up front for sure.
Well, I'll tell you. Well, first, Christian is actually one of our skill guys. He's a safety and a slot receiver for us. Probably our best all-around football player, offensively, defensively, special teams. When you build a program, and we've been doing it here at North since 2004. You have kids that you view as program kids that you want to build the program around, and have kids that are coming up be and play like him. He has been just a phenomenal, outstanding young man, the highest quality character, and just gets it done in the weight room, on the field when we're running. Just a kid that you build your program around. So Christian is definitely a huge loss for us. Two-way starter at strong safety and our slot receiver. Going to be hard to replace somebody like him, no question. But as I alluded to earlier, we'll have to move the puzzle pieces around a little bit and get somebody in there that that can be the best that they can be. Can't be another Christian Philanel, but can be just as effective. And hopefully, if things work out the way we hope they do, that won't be too far out of the realm of possibility. But losing a kid like Christian is a tremendous loss. And the way that we lost him is just unheard of. He was just hanging out at a friend's house, and they were playing in the backyard on a slip and slide, and unfortunately he tweaked it a little bit, and it didn't feel right. And when that X-rays, and sure enough, it was broken. So, not sure what his timetable is for return, but we're going to have to move forward. And I know Christian will continue to work forward, and he's the kind of kid that's going to be a team captain anyway, regardless of the injury. That's how much we regard him, how high we regard him in our program.
May have to outlaw the pool parties for the rest of the year, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, we've spoken to our kids about that. Ironically enough, he was trying to take it easy a little bit because he's also a very good lacrosse player, and was trying to just have some fun. And it just goes to show you can get hurt doing just about anything. And we're going to have to outlaw the slip and slides for the season, unfortunately, for our guys.
Our guest is Jason Roby, talking Nashua North football with the head coach of the Titans. You mentioned Dimitri Jackson earlier. He was a name that popped up on our radar screen doing the coverage on Friday nights with Friday Night Lights. It seemed like he put together a strong sophomore campaign. You alluded to the fact that he ran for over 800 yards. What's the next step in his game and his development? Because at that age, you're still growing, figuring out your body, and by the time you're about 17 or so, the junior year sometimes, that's when you can really begin to put everything together. If he's this good and still growing and getting better, it could be scary over the next 2 years. What's the next step in your mind that Dimitri needs to take to be successful here in 2013?
I think for Dimitri, it's just going to be to continue to grow into his body. He's almost 6'2" right now, and I would venture to say by the time he graduates, he'll be taller than that and be as physically stronger than that. He needs to continue to get into the weight room, get his body bigger and stronger, and he's done that. He's been in the weight room every day this summer. He needs to continue to go to the camps and be seen. He went to Boston College camp and had a very good showing at their camp. He's on the University of New Hampshire's radar as a junior. People are well aware of him. He's a fantastic young man. He's very, very good in the classroom. Just a super solid kid all the way around. And for him, there's a very good chance that if he does get taken offensively when he does graduate, he could very well be a slot receiver or even an X or a Z, which is the furthest most outside receivers. Take advantage of his speed and his height against defensive backs. We have him right now as what we call our F, our running back position, but, he has great hands out of the backfield, so there's a very real possibility that, as he progressively gets older, he could bump out a little bit further on the perimeter. And defensively, last year he was a shutdown corner for us. This year we project him as playing at safety, and for him, to continue to move forward, he just needs to get a better understanding of formations, formation recognition, pre-snap read, because he's as athletic as they come. But his pre-snap read and his pre-snap alignment and assignment is just something that, that takes time. And as he starts to get a better feel for that, more success will come his way.
Talking Nashua North football with head coach, second-year man, Jason Roby, joining us. Now, as a coach, do you tailor the game plan differently this year with so many weapons on the outside as opposed to years past?
Well, I think you have to work to your strengths. I think you have to do what you do and feel confident enough in what you do to be successful. I think, obviously, when you have the kind of weapons that we think we do, you need to take advantage of matchups and put them in positions where they can be successful. But at the same time, you have to stay within your system. You have to run your system and make your kids, get your kids to believe in what you're doing. And we didn't score as many points last year as we had the two previous years, and a lot of that was because we were very, very young in a lot of those skill positions and unproven. But I think now the kids have a pretty good grasp as we go through our 7-on-7 passing camps and our football camps that we go to. The kids have a better grasp and better feel for what we're doing. so another year of maturity under their belt, and they'll be a little bit more explosive. Now we've tweaked a few things here and there, certainly to take advantage of their strengths. Also, we've not necessarily changed the offensive system, but I don't want to say we've changed the wheel. We've just added some spokes. So that's kind of how we approach it.
How about mentally from some of the returning players? You mentioned a lot of those young guys, underclassmen last year, took their licks, took their lumps in the starting lineup, took some of the losses as well. Are they refreshed and perhaps better for taking some of those losses last year heading into 2013?
I think so. I mean, we were a game below 500, so it's not like we went 0-11 or
Right.
1-10. We were 5-6, I believe, and so and a couple of those games we're winning in the third quarter. So I think for those kids, it's a matter of finishing. We're a quarter away from being potentially a playoff team. The kids have confidence in what they're doing, but it also at that age is learning how to win and closing the deal, learning what you need to do to finish the job. There were some games last year where we absolutely did that. I mean, at Concord High School, when that's a fantastic football team. They had a great coaching staff, and we beat them 22-21 at our place, virtually knocking them out of the playoffs. So we know that we can play with good teams and beat good teams. It's just a matter of sustaining it for 4 quarters. So for us, the mental aspect is 4 quarters of football all the time, and that's kind of what we've been focusing on this off season, this preseason, I should say, heading into camp. Is when we do our conditioning, we talk about 4 quarters. When we do our lifting in the weight room, we talk about 4 quarters and finishing the last set, and so on and so forth. So it kind of takes on a life of its own, even off the field. It's a huge component, and it's something that if we want to be successful, we'll need to play 4 quarters of good football.
You're listening to the High School Insiders. Our high school football preview continues. Today's stop, Nashua North. The guest is head coach Jason Roby. How about on the defensive side, Coach? I remember hearing last year when we had correspondents out at your games, the reports back were that we saw a lot of flashes, a lot of hard hits on defense. I think your team has kind of carved out a reputation as being a physical blue-collar team on the defensive side. I'm sure that's music to your ears, but what do you look to accomplish on the defensive side of the football this year?
Well, I think for us, the last couple of years we've been an undersized defense, which isn't to say we've not been successful. In our defensive scheme, our success comes from kids doing their job and running quickly to the football. It's assignment football. If 11 guys each do their job and run to the ball, then we should have success. We are very fast on the perimeter. We're very fast up front. We can get in and disrupt things for teams that they have a pretty intricate rule blocking systems. We can do some of those things. The question mark for us, obviously, is can we play with the teams that want to play smash mouth? I think we at times proved that last year. Certainly against Manchester Central, holding them to 1 touchdown. In a team that really likes to smash it up in there. So we've shown glimpses. We've lost some really, really good players. Obviously, Derek Wagner are going to be playing at Merrimack College this year, and Mike Lynch going to be playing at University of New Hampshire. Two key elements in our defense last year, both all-state football players, and now Christian Fillinell, in my opinion, a kid who was primed to have a breakout season. So you're talking about 3 key individuals that that we're going to have to replace. We feel pretty confident in the guys that we have coming back. You have Joe Chamelski, who was an all-state defensive tackle for us, Noah Goslin, who was an inside linebacker for us, and Dimitri and Miles and Ezema in the defensive secondary. So we have some kids, and we have some big surprises hopefully coming too, kids that maybe you didn't hear too much about last year that are looking to make an impact. So we'll run to the football, we'll hustle, we'll hit, and our kids will compete. I will tell you that they're going to go for 4 quarters. And like I said earlier, that's kind of been our mantra all along: is play for 4 quarters and then let the chips fall where they may.
Coach, I understand you're joining me now from Stello Stadium, where every Wednesday night they have passing nights down there. Tell me a little bit more about that. It's not just your players, but players really from around the region that get together. What's going on down there at Stellos?
So one of the bigger things, you read a lot about these 7-on-7 passing tournaments that a lot of teams go to, and we started doing this probably back in 2005, 2006. We used to go over to Londonderry High School and do 7-on-7 with Pinkerton and Londonderry, and it kind of caught fire for us. We ended up going to a couple of tournaments at the University of New Hampshire a few years ago and won the tournament in 2010. But we decided that, this year, take advantage of one of the finer facilities in the state, and we invited Manchester West, Souhegan High School, and Bishop Girton to come do some 7-on-7 passing league with us. And basically how it works is you're operating on both sides of the field. You start on the 40, and each team gets 10 plays to drive the football as far as they can. If they score, you go back to the 40, and you finish up your balance of plays. And then after that, you start a drive, first and 10 on the 40, and you play it like a real series of downs. It's not pads. It's T-shirts, short, and cleats. It's one-hand touch. And basically you're just trying to get to your defensive zones and your drops, and the offense is trying to execute their offensive plays and their scheme, and gives us as coaches an opportunity to watch our kids run around a little bit and do some things. And it's something that's become pretty much a staple in every state. 7-on-7 passing league. We don't have spring football here in New Hampshire like a lot of states do. So this is as close as we get. Being able to get out there with our kids a little bit and do this has certainly been a good experience for our young kids, and it's a good experience for the coaches to get out there, see the kids. We're kicking the rust off a little bit too, making sure we know what we're doing as a staff heading into it, little hands-on type stuff. So it's good. As I mentioned, Bishop Girton, Souhegan, and West are here, and their coaches and their players doing the exact same thing. And it's not a mandatory thing. It's you try and get as many guys here as you can, and you try and put appropriate matchups in there and see what happens. But it's been pretty good for us, and it's something that I think has helped not only us but a lot of teams here in the state.
Jason Roby is our guest. He's the head football coach at Nashua North, joining us here on the High School Insiders. Couple minutes left, Coach. I want to talk about the rivalry, the state of the rivalry with Nashua South. Obviously, you meet every Turkey Day, and you guys closed them out pretty well, beating them to send maybe a message, Coach? Or, do you use that as motivation? South's been kind of the king of the mountain here for a couple of years. What is your take on the latest installment coming up with the North-South rivalry?
Well, I think, Thanksgiving game, they were coming off a playoff loss to Pinkerton, and we had been sitting at home for a couple of weeks to think about it, and, it was a very good game, very competitive game. I think going in, we had a very good defensive game plan. We made a couple of little adjustments from our prior meeting, and, it was a good springboard into the off season. Anytime you get two teams in this city who are pretty evenly matched, and then you get bragging rights, and all the kids know each other, and so on and so forth, it's a good, healthy rivalry, and it's a good thing. I think this year coming in, they're very similar to us, to be honest with you. I think they have a lot of skilled kids coming back. Certainly, you start with Trevor Knight at quarterback, and he's an explosive player who makes their offense go, and they have a lot of other explosive athletes on the perimeter that supplement what he does, and they're going to be a very, very good football team. I think they're going to. There's a reputation of what kids are supposed to be like here in Nashua and how we're supposed to play, and from the time I was an assistant at Nashua South, the time I started coaching at North in 2004, it's been something we've tried to ingrain in the kids. You play a certain style of football, and you're a Nashua kid, and this is how you go about doing things. So I think it's going to be another pretty good battle between two city schools that off the field they like each other, they hang out with each other, they do a lot of things together. But when we get inside the lines, it's all business, and you're usually in for a pretty good treat.
Absolutely. Coach, big picture now. What's the big goal? Is it the playoff berth? From my understanding, the way the realignment works is if you finish in your top two in the conference of the 5 teams, you're in, no matter what the record, no matter what the scenario. I would assume that has got to be the team goal, right, to get the Titans back into the playoffs, or am I wrong?
Yeah. No, you're correct. You look at the division, and certainly when you make goals for your team, you have to make reasonable goals. Mm-hmm. You have to do things that the kids can achieve and cross off their bucket list as the season progresses. And I think for us, that's one of them, is to try and win the division, and if not, at least be in the top 2 and get into the playoffs. I think it's you got a 2-5 shot of doing it. So, the odds are, they're definitely somewhat favorable that you get a chance to make the postseason. Regardless of what you do, out of your division. And we play the Seacoast League this year with Exeter and Winnicott and some of those teams that are explosive and powerful. So we have to try and take care of business within our own conference for sure. And obviously, the playoffs is, you talk about 1 week at a time. But as a coaching staff and as players, you hope for that. But for us, really, it's week 1, teen high school, team that Nashua North has never played. We have a lot of work to do before we start worrying about the playoffs too much. We got to get ready for Keene.
It'll be here before you know it. Coach, appreciate the time tonight. My favorite time of year. Everybody's 0-0. Everybody's undefeated, and it's good to speculate. It's good to preview, and it was good having you tonight. Thanks a bunch.
Nick, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Let's talk again soon.
You got it.
That is Coach Jason Roby, second-year head man with Nashua North. The Titans surprised a lot of people last year. As I mentioned, a physical football team, a young football team with weapons now on the outside, experienced weapons. I think they're ready to take that next step forward. And again, pretty good odds that all you got to do is finish second. Now, it's easier said than done. I understand that, especially here in July. But the door is certainly open, and I think these guys are going to make the most of their opportunities. Listen, as a sophomore, Demetrius Jackson was basically a household name amongst New Hampshire high school football fans at the end of the year. Talk about explosive. He's still a guy growing. Boy, oh boy, he could be scary. Come this time, a couple months from now here, we'll be into the middle, so to speak, of the football season. Whew. It's right around the corner. 603-883-9900. Couple minutes left here, bringing you up to Red Sox coverage. Sox facing David Price and the Tampa Bay Rays. Pregame begins at 6:25. First pitch 7:10. We'll be back tomorrow as we continue to roll out our high school football previews one after the other. We will stay in Division I. We will stay in the West Conference. 2 down, 3 to go. Tomorrow, will it be Keene? Will we talk to head coach Lucas Lopa about losing his son, some of the rebuilding, the realignment? Or will we stick close here to Nashua and go over to Alvern, just across the bridge? There's a new spirit and a new hunger awaken amongst the Broncos. Or how about BG? The Cardinals are used to winning. We'll see if they can do it at the D1 level. Another preview comes your way tomorrow here on the High School Insiders. Rich will be back, and so will I. Until then, my name is Nick Anastas saying so long. This has been another successful edition of the High School Insiders, presented by the Monahan Companies on ESPN New Hampshire and ESPNNewHampshire.com.